close to 6 years since we started. Coach Joe and I started Corestrat, and it started off as more an ML-enabled, ML-powered analytics platform solutions for financial institutions. And as we transformed over the years, um, we have now transformed that to be more AI first, enabling solutions for fintech, but it also goes beyond fintech. It's kind of industry agnostic, and we have created use cases. So we have created solutions in such a way that it is AI native and code independent. So you don't need to be a technical person or a technology person to be able to use it. So the adoption of that solution across industries and companies is more seamless and easy at this point. So that's and as we move forward, it's continuously evolving as an entity, and it would be not fair if I don't end by saying that it's built by the people that are in the company. I mean, our solutions are there, but it's people first, then AI, then
Right.
solutions. I think we started off as decision intelligence. In fact, Corestrat's first domain name was My Decision Analytics, and it changed, into Corestrat, now. So it wasn't that we said, oh, I think my background has always been in decision analytics for banking as as my career. So it's always been that data for me is critical in making decisions. So, and the intelligence of transforming the data into insights and then making decisions is always in the back of the mind. But what I found lacking in the industry was a solution that provided that context. And so I said, okay, let's take it upon myself to say, well, let's build a solution that addresses the data challenges. So if a company or an institution or a client wants to solve the data, we'll solve it, and we'll help them then build that data, decision intelligence for that. Now, for us, it means it's combining predictive analytics, and then you have logical reasoning, given the reasoning models that are in place in it, and then layering with the business logic. Together is what we call as decision intelligence. It's not just taking the data and then building a model. That's just modeling. But now extending that all the way to the end insight is what we define as decision intelligence, and providing that insight to the business to be able to make better strategies and decisions. We started off, and we have our predominant client base is still fintech. But we have also, as we develop our decision, like the ID.ai, the decision intelligence tool, and the Rule AI, we've also built the generative agent. Now, that is something where we have created use cases that are industry agnostic, because the Gen agent is not. We have our small reasoning models for the fintech, but we also have tailored it for others. So, to answer your question, predominantly fintech, we expand on certain cases where case by case basis to other industries if there is a real need where we can solve the problem. The transformation, and in terms of adoption, it has been phenomenal in one way. 5 years ago, building a predictive model faster was probably the thing to go. Now, that same model, when we say, okay, the decision intelligence, because now you have the data, you have the model, we'll draw the insights, we'll simulate strategies, and we will help you implement it. Now, that value chain is where we have gone to. Now, where it's going towards is that last mile AI adoption. So I think where now companies are starting to realize is it's not just about implementing the model for a strategy, but that model or action needs to be continuously taught and the data and the results need to be fed in, and they have to be ready to just throw out what they already know, because the AI agent is now telling, look, this is different. So that's where it's going to go. But I think the transformation, but adoption is different across different. I mean, like some of them have adopted very quickly. Some of them, I would say, still in that stage where, or just get us a model built in 45 seconds. That's all we want. But others are like, okay, we want the full, Rolls-Royce version. We'll go all the way because we want to be first and we want to be captured the full length. So it's transformed, but it's also different stages of adoption within that same spectrum. The platform stack is, so we have large reasoning models. We have the model context protocol built into our stack. We also have the Gen AI tool. So all of our solutions, or at least the flagship solutions, have a generative AI assistant built into it. So if you don't know how to use the model or the platform, it will guide you to the path. So that's our core offering. So our architecture and stack has an AI foundry underneath that, and we build all of the MCPs and the LRM, the reasoning models, and the augmented generators. All that's built into that. Now, in terms of the use case, our classic use case is where the client, one of our clients, has gotten the ID.ai, our intelligent decision, for their portfolio decision analytics. They have our rule engine or a rule AI for decision, like rule-based decisioning, and they've integrated the generative AI to now query and be able to then generate insights into that process. One of the South Asia lenders, can't name them just for the sake of it, but they have incorporated. Now they have seen model development cycles from months to minutes. So to say that it's a 90% drop is not even fair. I mean, it used to be a 6-month process. Now, getting the parameters in within like 45 minutes, they can start, finish, model, validate, and document the whole thing in that process. It's one of the largest consumer lenders in South Asia. And the same use case is also, so they've reduced cycle times, they've improved their predictability in terms of risk measurement by close to 30%, and they've also increased loan approval rate. So all of these, they can see the benefits, but more importantly is now they have a solution that's not just about those measurements, but it's about having that intelligence piece that continuously helps them to provide strategies that they can adopt. So that's something that, and we have a strategy of going in with one and extending the product suite within the organization. The last mile AI adoption is a challenge. It's definitely a challenge for two reasons. One, the organizations, there are use cases in the organizations, right? And there is executive support in terms of, like, we want to adopt it. We see but then the permeation of that down into the organization is something that takes time. So now what we are doing to kind of address some part of it is our solutions are usable just beyond data scientists and machine learning. You don't need any technical knowledge or technology background to use the product. So you and I can build a model. Maybe you are better at building models. I can build a model with my solution, that because I don't have any modeling background, that's how we've built it. We've said we make it AI first, we make it no code, we make it not technology dependent, and train the person so that the person is the analyst on the ground is focused on more value add rather than building the base piece of it, which the solution can build. Now, where we also have the other set of challenges, finding use cases within that organization. So we go in and we help with certain use cases, and then we expand into the problem. Now, some institutions are fully on board and say, look, you tell us a use case, we will test it. Some institutions will say, let's work through that process. And I think that piece is evolving. So that's where you see a lot of AI solutions being built, but not fully embedded into that day to day, because that use case adoption has not been optimized yet. And it's a long road. I mean, ML took a few years. I mean, it's going to take some more years to, before AI does. But you want to be at that stage where you're able to invest, build better models and better AI tools, and also identify use cases. So you're able to, continuously help and help the organization with the same. Look, I come from a risk management background. So I've been a CRO in various organizations. So the governance, integrity, the explainability of the model and is core to what we do. I mean, I've sat on the other side and asked, how do models work? Explain to me these variables. So when we build something, we want to make sure that it can be explained. So it's built in our kind of Corestrat's DNA in a way. So as we, every model that we build or deploy through our platform includes bias detection. That's standard in what we do. It is just something that we have built it as a feature, default feature. So you don't want to. And they also have lineage tracking. So there are various safeguards that we built within that. Some of it you can disable if you want to, but when we build it and we offer it, we make sure that it's there and there is rational visualization of all those. So you have to be able to explain what you're building, and then it's up to the client to say, yes, the ethics piece of is covered. AI development as we go through, like a lot of it is we are automating, but we also work with the client to say, okay, where is that line that you want to draw in terms of, because the models can do whatever you want, but at some point you draw the line and say, oh, maybe this is what. So that's something that we work with the clients as well. But it's built into our solutions in terms of bias detection, visualization of the actual, all that stuff is part of our process. Now, in terms of the regional trends, I spend a lot of time in the US, and I see there is a difference. There is similarities, there is also a difference. Like Asia Pacific as a whole, it's definitely moving towards more real-time risk intelligence decision making. That's something that we see when we work with the fintechs and the consumer lenders. We see that's their thinking is clearly that, look, we don't want to be. Their mindset is, AI first. I want to get decisions out quickly. So that's there. Now, now we see that shift going not just with risk models, but now combining with Gen AI, combined with the traditional. So they said, okay, when I'm doing a fraud scoring, can you also help me with the generative AI aspect of it? Like, what can we do? So that's why we've now incorporated Gen AI tools as part of our core feature. So you can see those reasoning coming out of it. Now, what differentiates the region is kind of the diversity. So when we work with Vietnam versus Thailand, then the local regulations are different. So it's almost like local. You have a global solution, but then you're offering localized solutions to the bank. Now, we see that as a bigger trend, as in almost the banks or the lending institutions here have leapfrogged a couple of generations. Like US, Western markets have transformed periodically, whereas institutions here, they're coming new, they have completely skipped 4 or 5 generations. That's what you see a lot more. So we want to be in a position where we are addressing their needs, not just the traditional banks, but also some of the neo banks that are coming into play. We are bootstrapped, and we don't have big venture capital, private equity. Joe and I co-founded. Our GTM so far has been go through our network. We have an extensive network, so now we are at a stage where our solutions are now. 2 years ago we were pushing the solution. We go in, we say this is a solution. Now, as we go through various events, and then people have seen it. And a lot of references, we are seeing a lot of interest into, especially this ID.ai, the intelligence decision AI. That's the only product in the market with that capability. So right now, 3 out of the top 6 consumer lenders in India are looking at that product. Either they have already onboarded us or will be onboarding. So that's kind of how that product has evolved. Now, for us, it is a short, sweet time that we have. So our GTM at this point is let's get the word out in the market. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we keep our focus in terms of continuously evolving the product. We have this feeling that okay, 12 months from now, this product is going to be a lot of people may look at it. So we just need to be ahead of that. So we want to get out there quickly. Most of our solutions are either they're cloud native. We also do on-prem solutions. Yeah? Now, given that we work with fintechs and sometimes the consumer lenders, and they're bigger consumer lenders, you have a lot of regulatory requirements. And I work with banks. I know we've had that issues before. So the technology challenges have never been with okay, whether it's cloud or on-prem. It's at the point of installation on-prem. You have, it's great. The product works fantastic in our dev environment or in their sandbox. It goes into live, 100 different pipes that are, feeding off of it. So we've learned it over the last years to identify that. So now what we do is we have now built within our tech stack. We have created that layer around it to say, okay, irrespective of where we implement, we just have to make a network or an API interface into that, into the client's environment, rather than change the whole system. So we do we've created almost like a wraparound, a wrapper API that we integrate. It doesn't mean that we have solved the problem, but it solves most of the problems that we go in. So rather than used to take us 3 to 4 weeks to the product development itself is shorter, but 3 to 4 weeks to implement. Now, probably a week. We are able to solve everything remote, and then we do one final implementation on site for on-prem, implementation. Now, the technology difficulties have not been on the solution side. It's neither on the client side. It's that compatibility, and a lot of them are not cloud for customer facing yet, for regulatory reasons. So that's where we have spent a lot of the time, and every installation is a learning for us. We say something else comes up. It's never, I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, we've done it. It's like, okay, we have done the last one better than the one before, and we'll continue to evolve as we go forward.